Good morning, my name is Shelby McKeever, and today I'll be discussing adolescents' attitudes towards eating disorders. So let's begin. Eating disorders are considered abnormal eating habits that can affect an individual's daily life. Anorexia nervosa, bulimia nervosa, and binge eating are all irregular eating habits that can harm one's health and can often become fatal. This area is important to study because eating disorders are becoming more common among adolescents. Therefore, the attitudes towards eating disorders among adolescents may become more accepting. Eating disorders are often associated with a negative stigma. If adolescents become more aware of how many of their peers suffer from an eating disorder, then they are more likely to see the illness in a more accepting perspective. Having a more positive standpoint regarding eating disorders may help establish a line of communication to seek the help that the adolescents need from either their peers, family, or professionals. Eating disorders are a common illness, however, they can become severe and often fatal. Minimal research has already been conducted regarding adolescents' attitudes towards eating disorders. One study was conducted to analyze the relationship between adolescent body dissatisfaction and media influence towards the ideal body image. Results concluded that females illustrated high scores towards eating issues and had more favorable opinions towards body art and cosmetic surgery. Males had favorable opinions towards physical activity. The results indicated that when adolescents have body dissatisfaction, then there is pressure to conform to societal expectations towards body image. In previous studies, body dissatisfaction has been recorded among different races and ethnicities. However, research has been limited on eating disorders among the different races and ethnicities between both genders. One study was conducted to determine the association between body dissatisfaction and eating disorders among the various racial and ethnic groups. The diverse racial and ethnic backgrounds that the adolescents represented included African American, Asian, white, Hispanic, Native American, and mixed races and other races. The results indicated that females had a higher body dissatisfaction than the male participants. For both genders, the adolescents who identified as Asian had the highest level of body dissatisfaction. A similar study was conducted to compare adolescents' attitudes towards eating disorders among different cultures. Body shape, weight, and desire for thinness were used as factors during the study. The results indicated that among the various cultural groups, there were significant differences in age, weight, height, and BMI. The cultural group for male participants that illustrated the most abnormal attitude towards eating were the Filipino participants. For female adolescents, the Indian and Filipino participants demonstrated a higher abnormal attitude towards eating as well. Weight teasing is often associated with binge eating disorder. Adolescents who suffer from binge eating disorder may also incorporate weight bias into their adult life. A study was conducted to examine the relationship between weight bias of adolescents who suffer from binge eating disorder and their perceived paternal weight teasing and negative weight stigma. The results indicate that the adolescents that were both overweight and suffered from binge eating disorder had significantly higher paternal weight teasing from their mothers than the other participant groups of overweight in the average weight range. Often, professionals outside the family unit are exposed to the knowledge that an adolescent may have developed an eating disorder. A study was used to examine guidance counselors from various schools' awareness of adolescent eating disorders. The results indicate that a majority of the guidance counselors have come into contact with the student that has an eating disorder, and that percentage is 72% of students. Natural leaders may play a role in influencing the adolescents during their impressionable age. A study was conducted to determine whether there was a relationship between an adolescent's attitude towards eating disorders and an existing natural mentor in their life. Results indicate that natural mentors were associated with higher levels of positive youth development of the adolescents in both male and female participants. For the proposal that was created, there will need to be 1,000 randomly selected high school adolescents of both genders. Questions on family, media, culture, community, and personal influence will be asked. Students will be asked whether they believe eating disorders are a common issue among their age group. They will be asked if they or someone they know suffer from an eating disorder. Their attitude towards eating disorders will need to be rated on a scale to determine whether adolescents are developing a positive or negative perspective on the illness. Also, the participants will have to assess their levels of depression, anxiety, dieting, and body satisfaction as well. Questions will include close-ended and agreement scales to solidify the data. The participants will need to include their age and gender so that it can be recorded to help analyze the results. The student will not need to record any identifiable information such as their name or their contact information. The survey will need to be administered on the same day at the same time to eliminate any confounding variables. The most efficient way to distribute the questionnaire is by arranging a specific English teacher at every participating high school to hand them out to their class during the allotted time. English is the best class to conduct the survey in, as it is a required course that every public school student in the state of Florida has to take. By analyzing previous studies relating to eating disorders, it seems appropriate to question the reasoning behind the attitudes towards eating disorders among adolescents. Finding the reasoning behind adolescents' attitudes towards the development of eating disorders will enable a treatment plan to develop. Establishing the origin will result in helping to find a treatment which will help preserve the lives of the adolescents affected by the eating disorders. The research questions are related to the larger issues raised in the introduction because eating disorders are shared among all types of individuals. If the negative stigma taught adolescents to have a negative attitude towards eating disorders, then they are not likely to seek the help that they need to overcome the illness. If the negative stigma associated with abnormal eating affects adolescents, then adolescents will develop a negative attitude towards eating disorders in their later life. After completing the survey, it is expected that there will be a higher number of female subjects that suffer from an eating disorder. Also, the results will indicate that the students believe that eating disorders are a common issue among their age group. If the hypothesis is confirmed, then it may be considered to bring more attention to eating disorders to allow adolescents to know that they aren't the only ones who suffer from the illness. If adolescents know that they aren't alone, then they may feel more comfortable discussing their abnormal eating patterns with friends, family, or professionals. Thank you for your time. Are there any questions? And here are my references.